What makes your heart tick? What spiritual path are you on? What do you believe? Let's dive deep into all things mystical, into the heart of the matter. You're listening to Deep Water with Cheryl, Earth Alchemy. This is Cheryl with Deep Water, and we have today Logan Hart, multi-talented. And Logan, I would like to know, where did you start in this journey of yours?
Well, I guess assume you mean the spiritual journey. There's
Yeah.
many journeys of life, but spiritual kind of encompasses all of it, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Well, I would say the first phase of that was when I began to question and let go of the Christian upbringing that I was raised with. That would be the beginning of spirituality, is when you let go of religion and you start actually being spiritual instead of just following the blueprint and the dogma and the illusions, unfortunately. So, yeah, um, I swung pretty hard into the other side of the pendulum, which would be atheism, nihilism,
Mm.
materialism, that mindset, just because that's very natural human psychology. Is you gotta figure out where the boundaries are. You gotta see both the extremes, so then you can start to kind of mediate and find that center. So for me, yeah, I was there for a few years in that headspace, but and then I went through the conspiracy rabbit hole after that. And then that's what, because like those, if you just look at them on their own, they seem pretty far apart and disjointed, but
Mhm.
you start to find those threads where they connect, about how a big part of mind control is not just about the what they're putting in the food and the water and the air and all this kind of
Right,
stuff.
right,
That's
right.
part of it, but the bigger thing with that is they want to keep your consciousness suppressed. They want to keep you from being an awakened spiritual being, and they want to keep you disconnected from nature and natural law. That's what it's all about. That's the real name of the game. But it took me many phases and iterations to finally get to that. So, as I said, the first part of that conspiracy thing is just, oh my God, all these lies. The Federal Reserve is a scam, and 9/11 was a false flag, and, just putting those pieces together. But that's more the world of effects, and then eventually you've got to start asking why, and figuring out what's behind all of this big facade that's been pulled over our eyes. And so, I started getting more interested in the occult, and I started experimenting with psychedelics, and that's where I started shifting away from that everything spiritual is bullshit, science gives you all the answers kind of mindset. That's very limited. It was necessary to shed all of that from the previous religious programming, but
Mhm. Yeah.
that it was another step on in that direction. So I would say, yeah, between studying some aspects of sort, I got caught up sort of in the new age trap a little bit, which, again, there's a lot of value there, just like there's a lot of value in looking at science. And, so you got to take those pieces with you, but let go of the cul-de-sacs of consciousness, so to speak, with each of those areas. And so that's where it all started culminating with understanding the true occult, not just, oh, it's all evil and satanic because they're using it against us. That was another very short-sighted kind of a newbie mistake that
Right, and
many
a lot of people
people
fall into that trap. They
and
get
never
scared of
even
it.
get out of. They're still
Right.
stuck there all like
Mhm.
decades later. So yeah, starting to look into, okay, but what actually is the occult, and how can it be almost reclaimed, as a birthright of understanding our own power and our own potential for influence of creation and change and alchemy in this reality field,
Right.
being a player on the battlefield, is a magician of your own, instead of just being at the effect and a victim of these dark sorcerers, right?
Right, right.
So, I mean, yeah, long story short, yeah, you put all that together, throw some anarchy in the mix too, because it's like, it's not just corrupt government. It's that government is inherently evil. And it's not, corruption is not a condition of government. It is a fundamental attribute. You
Well, do
know,
you think corruption is an inherent issue of humankind, of just the human aspect?
condition, yes. I would not call it a human nature, because what human nature actually is malleability of consciousness, programmability, even,
Mhm.
like a computer, not a computer, but computer like, right?
Right.
Um, the That's how the mind works. Just like a computer has a operating system, you have your software, and if your software is bad, if it's full of bugs, then your outputs are going to be full of bugs also. And so that
Right.
corruption is a product of trauma that's unresolved, and we're not given the tools to actually deal and transmute that, first of all. And then you know, plug in all of these psyops and mind control programs that graft onto those traumas as the entry points into the psyche, that we trauma bond with all of these toxic beliefs and false leaders and
The
ideals and things like
indoctrination
that.
of Christianity, when we start off really young in Christian churches, and it's
Yeah.
indoctrination, it's a program,
Yep,
just
that's a
like
big one.
television programs us.
And when I, mention trauma, is because these programs have trauma built into them. That's part of
Mhm.
how it's trauma-based mind
Mhm.
control.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there's these subtle but powerful abuse built in. There's gaslighting, you're a sinner. Your very existence is wrong, and you need
Mhm.
something to
To
fix
save
you.
you.
All of
Yeah, yeah.
all of these kind of things, these are very destructive beliefs that are internalized, especially at a young age when your mind isn't even developed yet. Like, that's going to do a lot of damage that takes a lot of time to undo. And I see a lot of people that have even ostensibly come out of and not like calling themselves a Christian or saying, "Yes, I see now that religion is bullshit," but then they're still carrying a lot of these Christian programs that are
Mhm.
lurking beneath the surface, and a lot of it gets kind of rebranded and repackaged with New Ageism, even pseudo occultism and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of Christianization in the occult world as well. And to me, I exercise a lot of discernment when I'm consuming books and teachings, even of that nature, because you can get that whiff of that Abrahamic
Mhm.
flavor,
Mhm.
as opposed to a pre-Christian, truly nature-based, you know, pagan or animistic mindset. That is one of the
Mhm.
most key distinctions in all things, in my opinion, when you're dealing with spirituality, because those mindsets are fundamentally different. And one is the natural healthy mindset, animism, and the
Mhm.
other is toxic, and it's a mind virus, and it's going to create, just like when you have a virus on your computer, it's going to create a lot of issues. And you know yeah, a lot of issues.
Do you see the pagans? Do you see that they, a lot of them still kind of do their path work with paganism as they are Christians, like as if they were still Christians, like they still worship the pagan side of things, but in a Christian form?
That's a great example of what I was talking about,
Hmm.
where they logically, consciously, they're like, "Yeah, I'm not religious anymore. I see the harm and the limitations of that and all of that." But yet they're still programmed in that way. They're still asking questions like, "Oh, how do I pray to, Odin or Zeus or whatever it may be?" They're just trying to like take the same pattern and rethink it, or like redo it with just a pagan twist or something like that.
Right,
And
right,
yeah,
right.
definitely with things like Wicca, and even Kabbalism and things like, there is that all comes out of a Judaic, Judeo,
Mhm.
esoteric
It does,
mystery
yes.
school. And so to
Mhm.
me, I'm a little like, there's good stuff in there and I can take little nuggets here and there, but I would not dive deeply into and call myself a Kabbalist because it just seems too booby trapped with that Abrahamic mind virus. So for me personally, that's how I look at that. I mean, there's wonderful works, and I know personally really great people that practice those things. So
Mhm.
that's just kind of one of my little personal takes on that. But to
Do
each their
you,
own, of course.
what would you call yourself in your spiritual path work
Um,
besides
if
pagan?
Well, if anything fits, it's syncretist because I am not any one thing. I'm like that in many ways, like I'm a musician and I like to
Mhm.
cook and I've got
Mhm.
like these very multifaceted interests and my spirituality is very similar to that. It's an ecology. And I don't personally that pigeonholing yourself into just one path is it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't resonate with me as much. Some people they like that simplicity, and again, I'm not saying that's wrong, but
Mhm.
for me, I like not putting myself in a box. I like looking at things at face value and determining their value and their veracity, and if it's useful, then I will carry it, and I can carry that thing without calling myself something or whatever. I mean, I definitely lean strongly towards Norse paganism. I just really feel a resonance with that. I have not done any DNA work, so I don't know if that's even literally, ancestral for me, but I
Mhm.
feel that it is. I feel a strong connection to the runes, to
Right.
the Norse gods, and things like that. So that is a big aspect for me, but I don't just describe myself as a Norse pagan. And I
Right.
enjoy learning of other traditions as well.
Do you meditate?
I go through phases, honestly.
Mhm.
But I don't always feel like I need it really. And when I do, then I go through that phase and I'll be more intentional with that and I'll feel like I get what I need from it and then I don't have it's not something I feel the need to do every single day, but
With your
tremendously helpful.
music, has that led you on a spiritual path more than anything in your life, or just the getting out of the indoctrination of Christianity? As far as in,
Um
can you associate your music with your spiritual path?
in a way, yeah. It's not something I necessarily use as like you know a, a tool for development spiritually as much as
Mhm.
it's sort of a byproduct of my spiritual development, if that makes sense. Th- yeah, I mean there's many ways in which there's natural law that you can learn from studying music and practicing music and mindfulness and presence. I love playing improvisational, guitar and things like that, which
Mhm.
is probably my favorite way to get into the flow state and to shut my, monkey mind off and
Right.
just tap in to that field. Um, but yeah, that's how I looked at that as it's more of a byproduct. It's a way to connect, but it's not for me something that I look to for that specific reason. If it makes sense, I
Yeah.
get more into the academic and the I don't know what the right word is, but I mean, I do think it's a powerful form of magic,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
again, I can take what I learn about magic and then apply it to music rather than the
Okay.
other way around.
Okay. So with your magic and your it's at the Wizard Factory, right?
Yeah.
And what do you do there at the Wizard Factory?
Well, primarily, the Wizard Factory is a platform that seeks to empower people with true spiritual knowledge, non dogmatic, but proven from my own experiences, things that I know to be true that I've discovered in my journey. And it is again multifaceted. So we do cover everything from uh, obviously just the occult itself and magic, Norse traditions and mythology and things like that, but even stuff like health and breath work and meditation and things like that, because those are all pieces of the puzzle. And the purpose is to be a holistic platform to share all the knowledge that's relevant to developing the self, um, both to heal and then to increase your effectiveness in life, your ability to create the outcomes, the life experiences that you desire, that is your orlog or your dharma, things like that, and just helping orient people with that, with the North Star being natural law, morality, cause and effect, and of course, the personal responsibility and accountability that comes with that.
Do you think the Abrahamic religions versus the paganistic religions, they treat women differently versus in these different religions, in these different
Mm,
pathworks when it comes to spirituality? Do you think that is a
That's
big problem in today's society?
that's an interesting question. I see a lot of nuance there. I mean, there's misogyny in pretty much anything, or the potential for, but
Right.
then there's you know instances where that's not the case. So I do think that there's certain elements, especially in say biblical teachings, because that's I'm most familiar with the Christian Bible. Um, I actually agree with a lot of the sort of conservative gender roles or gender
Hmm.
attributes, right? I do think men and women are fundamentally different. We have different strengths and weaknesses. We have different needs and desires and ways to communicate. And I think that should be embraced and not sort of homogenized, especially in
Hmm.
intimate relationships, for example. But I do think there's a lot of misogynistic things baked into, biblical teachings as well. So again, very nuanced and not black and white.
Well, when I'm asking that, it's like more of I would think the pagan tradition give women more of a voice versus the Abrahamic religions. They really don't give a lot of a voice to women. You know what I mean? When it comes to like spiritual aspects and knowings and knowledge and stuff like that. And that's really what I was. It's more of I feel like Abrahamic religions they use the symbology of the feminine, for their religion, but they don't put the women in
Mm.
the front. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I can see that.
So
Like even the removal of the goddess from the Trinity, things
right,
like that.
right,
Like
right.
that's
Mm,
that's pretty obvious to me that that's done intentionally to remove that feminine aspect. And then you can look at things like, for example, Seder and Galder, where they're specific. They weren't rigid with men must do this and never the other, or vice versa. But it's you know there was that tendency, and
mhm,
again that plays to the strengths that we each have. Galder being very penetrative, like masculine energy,
mhm, mhm,
vocal, right? Using the
mhm,
spoken voice, you're sort of penetrating the reality field with your voice and your will and your intention. That's very masculine, um, sort of magical practice. And then the feminine, say that are being more state oriented. It's less
mhm.
about doing and projecting, but more of just a state of beingness. That's the
Right,
feminine element,
right.
and that sort of is like a magnetic force that you can like call in different things by being in that magical state.
Right, right. And do you have any advice for men and women now for nowadays? Because I know you see the world that we're in here, with the war of the sexes, the battles that we face online. Do you have
Mm.
any like simple advice?
Mm. That's a whole thing. It's a topic that I love to get into, but it is definitely quite the can of worms. But yeah, simple advice is don't take things at face value based on what you're told about men and women and what they should or shouldn't do. Tap into your body. Listen to the wisdom of your instincts that are still in there, no matter how suppressed and shoved down they are. Tune into that, feel into that, embody that, and see see where that leads you. And see what kind of friction that starts to create with these ideas that you might hold about these more modern or postmodern even ideas about gender.
In your path work, you've learned the runes, correct?
Oh yeah, I have a course on the runes now.
Okay, so my question for you is, what has been the most let me figure out how to word this. Like in your work with the runes and tapping into each rune, the shadow work that involves in knowing and understanding these runes. What has been the toughest battle you have fought within this path work when working with the runes
Mm,
within yourself?
hmm. I guess just trying to accept the energy that you're calling in if you're working with a particular energy.
Hmm.
It's kind of like when you take psychedelics and then you have a really difficult trip. You 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 can't really say anything because you're the one that took it, right? It's almost like asking a question, and then you have to be willing to accept the answer that is given to you. And that's how the runes are in my experience. It can be very intense and difficult and challenging, but necessary. And just like a bad trip, the worst thing you can do is try to fight it and resist it. Like, there is that level of surrender and just kind of like, okay, well, I asked for this, so take the bitter medicine and stay in your power and transmute and just keep
Transmute.
moving forward. Hmm.
That's good. That's good stuff there. Where do you see yourself going with your path work and your spiritual studies?
Well, lately I've been really continuing to try to learn more about Germanic history, Norse mythology, the ritual magic and things like that. I have some understanding, but I feel that I could go a lot further. I wouldn't consider myself advanced in those areas, but I want to be. So that's somewhere
Hmm.
that I've been kind of working on, and I think there will be a lot of growth coming through that because I do have a very strong grasp on sort of my specialties, which is just natural law, the law of freedom, um, mind control. So in my opinion, one of my best or most prolific works is my trivium hacking mind control presentation. It's 4 hours, and it's like a master blueprint that goes pretty much gives you all the bits and pieces to the machine and how it works, and how to get out of that. But so like I said, I I have an emphasis on what I know because that's where I can deliver the most value. But I think there's a lot of value in also being curious and continuing to explore new areas and then just share along the way, because who's to say, who's to tell me, oh, that didn't work for you or you didn't get value out of that on your own journey. You know what I mean? So if you're just,
Right.
it's authentic if you just keep it to, hey, you do you, but this is what helped me, or this is something that I found to be profound and transformative, you know.
Hmm. Right. That's kind of how I am with my spiritual journey. So where with the Wizard Factory are you having any new guests coming up soon?
Yeah, I've been trying to get back into interviews.
Mhm,
I slowed down a lot last year because I was working on the course. So I
mhm.
was putting out some here and there, but maybe like one video a month or something like that. And so it feels really good to be back making more regular content. And I just released a new interview today with my friend Daniel Maddox. It was a great sort of, I call it under the macroscope, where we just kind of discuss current events and what we're observing in the collective psyche and that sort of thing. I did also just interview Tina Kemp. I believe you might know her.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, I've never really interacted with her a whole lot, but I do know who she is.
Yeah.
So what do you think what is the biggest problem we have today in society with when it comes to the mind control and stuff like that?
Mm. Well, there are many problems, but I think by far the biggest one is a lack of understanding, let alone alignment with moral principles, objectively moral principles, not relativism. That's what leads to things like government and slavery and all of that. And so the only answer to reverse that condition is to understand the objective difference between right and wrong, to align your own behavior to that, and stop supporting any type of violent coercive systems that are not in alignment with that. And if everyone started doing that, the world that would be the single most transformative thing that could happen on this planet, because we would live in a, not utopia, because there's always going to be, right, I mean, that's how reality works. There's balance, there's polarities, um, but just imagine a world where the majority of people are moral in their own behavior and can recognize evil when they see it. Because think about how things look now, is there's so much evil going on, and people are fucking cheering for it.
They are, they really are. It's
Let alone
crazy.
saying, "Hell no, we're not having this, and you're gonna stop that right now, or we'll stop you." That's what I'm talking about, is when we become so aligned with that and so integrated with that, that not only we're not harming others in our behaviors, but when we see that happening, that we take a stand and say, "That's gonna stop right now, or we'll make it stop for you." You know what I'm
So
saying?
that blue
Just
flame
imagine
of anger.
how different the world would be if that was
Yeah,
the norm instead of the rare exception.
right, right. Well, if you want to go ahead and plug yourself, we got a few minutes left. Plug what you're doing, what you're going to be doing, your networks, your social medias, and anything that you'd like to say to the audience. With what you got going on, or anything really.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Grateful to have you feature me on your show. It's
Well,
an honor to be here.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so anyone watching and resonated with my words that I shared here today, by all means, I'd love to have you join the community, and just start with, I would say, subscribing on YouTube. That's where pretty much my main focus is right now. I am looking to be launching a more um, private, sort of exclusive community, um, focused on building those connections, and having a support system where we can share knowledge and have each other's back, and things like that. But that's in the works at this time. But yeah, just follow me, follow the Wizard Factory on whatever social media platforms you like: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Those are the main ones. There's a Telegram channel, and dive into the YouTube material. If you're not sure where to start, there's a playlist on there called "Laying the Foundation," and that's kind of my best of. Here's everything that is you really need to come to understand is the most valuable, most important things. If you're interested in learning runes, as I said, I have created a course. But if you're not sure, you just want to dip your toe in the water, I have a free mini course that you can try out. All you got to do is sign up, and you'll get the link to that. And it's just a 15-minute sort of introduction. And then you can see if you like what you see there, and like my style of teaching and all that kind of stuff, and then you can decide if you want to go further. But I would say that's about it. Yeah, just start with the content, and don't be a stranger. Leave a comment, and let's have a conversation. That's what I'm here for. I don't want to be your guru. I don't want to be like the arbiter of truth. I'm just a guy
We
sharing what
can't
I've
worship you, Logan.
discovered.
We can't worship you,
Absolutely
Logan.
not. No, I won't tolerate that. No, thank you.
Okay, Logan, can you give us a skip? Can you give us some voice stuff going on? I know you can do it. I know you got something in you could just come out with. Come on.
Oh my gosh, putting me on the spot here.
You know it. You could do it. You're Leo. Come on.
Well, I'll tell you this much. This is something you're not going to hear a lot from the other politicians, but government is slavery. There's no way around it. It's just the truth. It's what it is. So there you have it, folks.
Yay. And your music. Tell them about your music, any kind of music you do. What else besides the Wizard Factory? Because you do a lot of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, that's great. So I do music. I also do voice impressions, as you just showed everyone or had everyone see. I just rebranded a platform that I was calling Heartfire Visions. That was kind of more towards my idea of maybe I'll offer services like voiceover or custom music or web design or graphic design or whatever. That's kind of, I just don't have the time or space for that. So that's kind of gone to the side. And I felt like that brand didn't really match what I was doing when it came to content. So I rebranded that. It's called Logan Makes Noise because it is, voices and music. It's audible type of uh, oriented content. And so, if you want something more entertaining or a little bit less deep and just more fun and lighthearted, then you can check that out. So I do have I mean, musically, as I said, I like to jam on the guitar, and I'll just kind of do these free form jams sometimes. I do have some more intentional composed music. I do electronic music. I actually did a soundtrack for Mark Passio on his documentary a few years ago, and that's probably my favorite thing that I've done just creatively. I'm very proud of that. That's a good one to, smoke a little bowl if that's your thing, and just put the headphones on and kind of it'll take you on a journey. So that's on Spotify or YouTube under Astral Terran. And so I mean, yeah, I can share all those links with you, so anybody interested can check those out as well.
So, have you done ayahuasca?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Okay.
I did two back-to-back ceremonies in Mexico in 2019, and
Oh, not so long
it
ago.
was very powerful, very profound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
very
do the
healing.
diet with it? Like as far as in like cleanse, like all vegan, just water and so you won't purge. Did you do that part of it?
Sort of, not like a shaman would that
Hmm.
does months of that, but I think
Hmm.
their protocol was a few days, like, or a week maybe. I can't remember exactly, but it was generally like these guidelines, and I actually didn't purge either night, which
Yeah.
was very unusual. I actually did Cambo for the first time last month, and I
Mm.
definitely purged on that one both times. That is intense.
Is it as intense as ayahuasca? As far as in the hallucinations?
You don't hallucinate. It's a very different experience.
Mm.
I mean, you're basically poisoning yourself, but in a way that, so you're using, this frog venom that you're I still have the dots here. You can barely see. I did
Yeah, I can't feel.
these on the shoulder, and I did 3 points
Hmm.
on the ankle the first night, and you're just taking in this venom of a tree frog that has no enemies because they're so venomous. Anything that tries to bite it, they instantly just freeze. Humans are the only animals that don't have this reaction, which is super weird, right? Um, but it basically there's like 500 peptides that get populated into the body, so it really helps regulate your hormonal
Hmm.
system, detoxifies you, and on a more metaphysical level, you kind of have this bond formed between you and the frog energy. This little jungle frog that has no enemies. So think about what that's doing energetically.
Hmm.
That it's kind of putting you at a more like at peace state. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
It's
because
pretty
even with
interesting.
ayahuasca, you feel like the earth, like you're doing, or you feel
Oh yeah,
earthy afterward. Yeah.
yeah. Mother Aya
So
might visit you, and you're really communing with the plant energies on that one for sure. Yeah, I'm a
so
big
I shouldn't.
proponent of those earth medicines, plant medicines.
Well, I've been asking everybody that I've interviewed the simulation theory or the monad. Did you know
What
simulation's
is
being pushed?
what is the monad? I've heard of
Well, the
that, but
monad is not like the Abrahamic God, but it's like the Godhead, like the triple, the Trinity, where it's like the essence of the source
uh,
being this and the embodiment, like the source, the sun, and then the embodiment of the spirit, like within us, you know what I mean? Not like a
yeah,
simulation, we're not like a computerized simulation holographic universe.
yeah. I don't know. Um, I don't really resonate with this hologram theory. That's not to say that there isn't some truth to this, veil of Maya, this sort of illusory aspect to reality. But I don't like the idea that it's some trick or soul trap. I don't like the
Hmm.
idea that there's these archons that are the masters of reality, and that's. I mean, I don't know. I really don't. I think most people don't know, but
I mean, no one really knows, but
energetically, I just don't really resonate with that. It feels very victimy and very like anti-reality, which is not compatible with again, one of those fundamental differences between animism and the Abrahamic mindset, which is one is all about sacrifice everything here, and then everything's in the afterlife. So it's completely de-emphasized this here and now for something that you believe you're going to get in the future, but you don't even know. It's blind faith versus the animistic mindset, which is this is it. We're incarnated here for a reason. Reality is real, even if it may be an illusion, it's still real and it still matters. Matter still matters. And it's all about the experience, right? That's why we're
oh yeah,
here, to
oh yeah,
experience things. So pleasure is not evil, like all of these ideas. It's so fundamentally at odds, those two mindsets. And so again, I don't feel like this idea that reality is this trick and that we're stuck here until we can figure our or evolve our way out or something, that doesn't feel compatible with every other aspect of what I know and feel with the animistic mindset, if that makes sense.
right. No, totally for me, anyways. But okay, well, we are going to end it here, and I want to thank you and thank our audience. And so, you want to say something else?
No, it's been a pleasure to be in here, and happy to come back anytime. And I
Oh
hope
yeah.
everyone got value from the conversation. And again, feel free to join me over there on the Wizard Factory. And
All right.
Logan makes noise.
Logan makes noise, and it's a very
Yeah,
good noise. It's not noisy noise. It's
happy
good.
noise.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, right, right. It's funny. It's great. Okay, thank you guys. See you later.
Bye.